The first half, we're going to talk about market sentiment, best opportunities in the past, and best opportunity coming into the next week. In my head, when I give my feedback towards the group, I want it to be very actionable steps, not just like random thoughts and things. And the more we are concrete about it, the better it is. So for me, it's always like, well, this has been working, that hasn't been working. So you guys want to get started, or does anybody have anything they want to talk before we start? So this is everybody watching the stream? Again, share if you have different thoughts. What I'm doing is, number one, we're going over we're going to run through these two gappers. One of the gapper, it shows the gapper how they're performing. Number two is any stock that has range, and then we kind of just sorted by that and see how we could do what we could have done better. So we're on the 15th. I'm gonna go 1 week. So it's the 5th. Thing doesn't save. Okay, so I'm gonna go from no variables, any stock that has had a 40% range, which is basically the range between the highest and the lowest day. And this way we can pick up a lot of the variables. Let me put, wow, there's a lot of stocks with range. Crazy. So there's no gapper in here. So we got bullish.
You also have the gappers included here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I meant, good point. What I meant to say is there is no like minimum gap threshold. Okay, so what I do usually perfectly is I go through this and I'm trying to figure out, could I have, with a bit of a hindsight information, could I have anticipated this or shorted this? So this is TBTH. Gap up is 21%. I don't think anybody caught this. Did you guys?
No. Yeah, no, this was not released.
Would have never. Wow, this is interesting. CGTO.
This is a Chinese liquidation ticker. This was day 2. They had a day 1 on Thursday. This was Friday. It was strong until around midday, and then it just.
Okay.
And I also missed it.
So this looks trappy as heck. I could see me getting involved in here, below VWAP, getting stopped out. I could see me getting involved in here. Well, no, not after 11. Maybe if I'm very disciplined, I wouldn't have. But this is very interesting. I guess with hindsight, I'm making a mental note. I'll get a high. The day fade was around 1, and it was sideways action. Sideways action into the new high. I think Adnan, you like to play this type of stuff, right? If it breaks the high and it just consolidates for a little bit. But I think I would have entered, if I was very disciplined, amazing trader, I think below VWAP. Hopefully nothing here. Can anybody else think of a cleaner way to have traded this?
Yeah, this one, if you zoom out a little bit, and yeah, see how it cleared out the structure after hours yesterday or on Friday, be able to push. I mean, I don't know, I think we might have discussed this on voice, or I think we said that, oh, this thing is kind of pushing a little bit. Yeah, it looked okay, but I didn't think that it was gonna fail like that, so I passed on it. I thought that it was gonna be a tight range, so yeah, passed on it. But yeah, in hindsight, it was great. But because it cleared out multiple ranges and what just went sideways.
What's interesting, Bo, is that last week, one of the reasons why I love doing this stuff is we saw a lot of liquidation plays in one last week or so. I don't know, Martin was here. But the thing is, so this happens often, and it's like a super crazy range, and it's all China. But China's a very weird name but I think they're doing a stop hunt and then they're liquidating. When we have time, maybe we could dig into that. But how would you have entered Adnan? Would it have been above here? I like this. This is above the new high too. Like yesterday's high clear. But you would enter here. Is this where you put all your risk, or do you put your risk somewhere else?
Yeah, like I would put my risk as it's going sideways. I typically just scale in a little bit, because like typically the longer it just goes sideways, the more likely it is to drop. So I would just kind of scale in as it's going sideways with like a wide stop. But I didn't take the trade, but that's how I would do it.
Would you ever like wide stop and then just one entry, or would you enter here, below here, or below here, getting with China.
So I like to enter when it's still above the pivot.
Above 250.
But then I'm not risking tight, right? So I'll be risking like 280, 285 maybe.
Does anybody else have any good clean ways? Because we've seen this a few times with the Chinese stock. Ben, Martin, Arsenal.
Yeah, on this example, it's hindsight because you see it in front of us how it played out, but the breakdown below 230 and then we were looks very nice, And it had it bottomed at 230 for about 20 minutes before it broke VWAP. So yeah, this I think would have been a setup to put some risk on, maybe risking 250.
Just a heads up, yeah, it's hindsight now, but there'll be many other times we will see China names fade off. This was the price action they want. And so this will be one of my notes moving into the sneak. If I have China locates, if we don't have it banned, it would be something that I would trade. This one here is another 36% fader. I think I got this one short. It was just a random.
Jason got it, I think. I missed it, but this was one of the nicest fades this week, and they had dilution, and probably the best dilution fade this week. Had a lockup expiration recently, and was just a beautiful fade.
Also, it was a
Fortunately
gapper.
missed that.
It was a gapper,
Yeah.
sub $1. I got it as well.
But it didn't bounce off the open really, unfortunately. Didn't give any good entry after the pre-market fade into the open.
So how I trade these, I honestly just put on a risk. And I accept that if I'm wrong, I'm just gonna be wrong. Like risk versus 111, 112, given that you see some sort of a heaviness. And then if I'm wrong, I just lose like 0.5 or whatever.
I mean, we were in a strong cycle this week, and it's mentally a little bit difficult to just put on even if it's just a starter, because so many stocks like this one, this also dropped first and then reclaimed and pushed above VWAP, which was also a good entry. But on NEHC, you could only short. Basically, there was not really a bounce, not really a clear out. And I don't like to short into weakness.
Right.
When we are in
So let's do something else while we're doing this, because I don't want to be the only one. So there's a lot of I obviously talk a bit, and Adnan, Arsenal, and Ben. If you guys were going through this, if you guys have a better way of entering, or of a way of entering, please don't hesitate to give input.
So for this one, my entry tactic, like when opening up below VWAP, is that it's usually worth it to at least take a small stab on like a push back towards VWAP. Like this one was not enough, but like the previous one, it visibly was like having trouble at that level, right? So you can get in at like 3.5 and risk just under 4. I think that's how the best way to trade these ones kind of are. But then the previous one, if I remember correctly, it was pretty low volume right from the get-go. Was it? Is that a 1 minute or is that 5?
3 minutes.
Yeah, I've noticed like some of these stocks where like they have a decent gap and like they're kind of hanging on by a thread going into the open. If they have very little volume come off the gate, like typically it's just gonna be light volume for the rest of the day. So like you could kind of get in risking like a VWAP reclaim here as well. Right? Same sort of like you'd have to risk less on this one because you ideally would want to short an extra like another bullet of like if it does touch VWAP and start to look heavy there too. Yes.
That's crazy. Pre-market volume was 77 million. Interesting variable. I avoided SOAR. Obviously, in hindsight, it was wrong because I was like, yo, compared to the float, it was trading massive amount. But Ben, do you have any good entries for these two? Or is it the same as what we're discussing?
I don't have entries for them. The gap was a bit low on SOAR.
Yes. Yeah, and I was afraid it was going to push higher.
Yeah, the day before were really float was very little, 1.3 million. This is additionally why I was a little bit hesitant to actually had a starter in the 370s, low 370s, but it never got there. 367 was the high on this push. A few minutes later, when it did this topping, it provided, yes, maybe also hindsight, but it provided if you go to the 1 minute chart, and I think Jason noted that in his screenshot, there was you could draw a trend line, yeah, like here, and then it broke down and under 325, I think, and then all the longs were bailing out possible entry on this.
So one of the other mental notes that I have made, I had a really good discussion yesterday with admin. I always am concerned about the amount of shares that it trades like the amount of what the float is to compare to the volume. So in this case, obviously I was wrong because like a 3-minute candle, it's like float rotating every 3-minute candle. Like float on this is like 1.3 million or something. And then it's like 1.515. So I was just like, this is gonna just go, but apparently not. And so taking a quick go back here summary with this. This here's China. This here's low cash dilution. And for me, because it was low volume, I actually like this to be really good. Because the volume is lower off the open, it's not super crazy. This one is a bit thing. KLTO. Anybody? This is a difficult one. Anybody got this one? And where would you have entered? I can start. Again, I think this is the same discussion that me and Adnan had yesterday.
Can you zoom out to see where the pre-market high is?
This was day 2.
Day 2.
After a big day 1 run, this stock came from 20 cents.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, these day 2, when they hold up, they're really, really nice. KLTO, yeah, this the pre-market highs here. So me and Adnan, we discussed yesterday that a very good setup that I always loved is when it pushes off, enter, put a risk, and then below wave up. So this is where I would enter. And day 2, I'm making a mental note. This is day 2, and it's still up 1,500% if it came from 20 cents. And if you guys have any Ben, Arsenal, admin, any perspective?
my only comment on this one was that this one was a bit tougher because it cleared out the pre-market high a couple times before it finally it's gonna drop. So I remember this one was tricky because it looked like it was done a couple times.
But realistically, it only kind of went below wave up once, right?
No, we're talking about like the pre-market clear out setup, right? 1 came back, 2, and then the 3rd time it finally did it.
Yeah.
But by that time it was pretty deviated.
Another mental note that I'm making is if a stock in 2 days is up like 1,000%, and I have this type of structure, we know that it's gonna have range below wave up, below open price. I think this is for sure a definitive setup that we need to have. Do you have any comments, Arsenal? Is Ben here? Ben, you're muted if you're talking. Arsenal, no. Arsenal. No problem. Will be effective with time. CGBS. This is a company that had really low cash. Oh, this is very small.
CGBS was the oil and gas penny stock from Friday. Did a nice pre-market move. Faded all day. Faded into close. Yeah.
It's very small. 15 cents. Sunday recap. I mean, there's not much to it. Unless if you guys have... do you have anything on that, Martin?
I traded it, but I had a good entry at 1850. Covered at the open when it did this quick fast push from 14 to 18. It was put on a starter there. I covered it when it pulled back to VWAP at the open at 14. And I was hoping for one more bigger push to 18, back to 18, but yeah, didn't come and I didn't get back in then.
I think for me, I'm making another mental note that this one only had less than 1 month of cash. So obviously the same old company has low cash and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it could, because they can always do pipe or some sort of offering. HSDT, and this is super difficult. This was a fighting play that JJ was doing. I think we should pay closer attention to what JJ says too. Because JJ had anticipated, or he had a feeling that this was going to happen after hours. But I guess he said he'd get the date wrong. So this is difficult. This for me, I would have gotten stopped out. I always risk like the high of the day. And I don't. Adnan, would you have shorted this here? If yes, how or why?
I did short that.
What's your risk?
Yeah.
2?
Yeah. Just under 2. Like, it's an opening range failed breakout, right? So,
Oh, here's my question. Do you short at down here or do you short like down here? At the first push?
I'll have to check, but I believe I shorted probably right after the first push. Yeah. Because it's confirming weakness, right?
Okay. So on the second, third candle on a 3-minute?
Let me just pull it
Well, a
up.
little bit further right, I have the picture screenshot here. Around 173 or so.
Can you post it Mo,
Okay.
on Sunday recap, please? That's crazy. But
Yeah, it was a bit later.
is it just you like even if you squeeze, you're just like whatever? Like this is part of your setup?
Yeah, like if it hits my stop, it hits my stop.
Okay, because this is up here. This is sexy. Oh my god.
Uh,
That is
just
so
under 2.
sexy. Yo, that is so sexy. Let me tag JJ. Be like JJ. Jim, Umar, if you are no longer filing expert.
Bro, I didn't
I know.
I didn't know that they were piling.
Bro, this is the poor guy does so much research, and you're like, yo, I'm just gonna super nice. Okay.
Yeah, the hold was nice that you held into after hours because it gave you another 50 cent more.
That's
Yeah, no, one comment I do want to make before I forget is like that sort of setup where um there's like a weaker gap up pushing into VWAP has been working really, really well. Because it seems like it is a hot market, but like there's only one play that's really squeezing,
yes.
right? And like everything else is not really pushing, right? So it's like it's pushing into like a VWAP level, and then it's kind of fading away, right? So like yeah, like the thing that me and Afghan kind of concluded was like, so as long as you kind of stay away from that one that squeezes, it can turn into a pretty decent day.
A question about this, Adnan. Like one thing I saw, mashallah, is like you wait until the end. You're not trying to top deck here. Because I personally would have been like, but if there's so much consolidation here, you could take a risk. But is there anything that you see that just prevents you? Like you think, oh, this is going to be bullish, because everybody here in the short is trapped. Like we could assume there in this 30-minute, there's some shorts in here, right? But how do you differentiate it, or you're just like, if a stop hits, or is there any red flags that you see? You should.
I mean,
I'm not gonna take this.
the thing is if you're taking like the technical setup a lot, right? Like there's setups like this almost day in, day out, right? They might look a little bit different and they don't fade as much. But if you're kind of taking that setup day in, day out, I just know that it's gonna work more times than not, right? So I don't care if it stops me out at 2, right? Like it's not gonna make or break my day if it hits like if I get stopped on something like this.
Right. So there's no
Right.
other
So
variables other than just technical, just a chart print.
yeah, technicals just looking at range, relative weakness on the day. I mean I did hear the guys talk about how this one had like dilution or whatnot. So, also a smaller confluence for me. But yeah, just the technical setup and the range. Like it was up 100%. It was stalling over its opening range, so just made sense.
And also for context, it was low in cash as well. So,
Yeah, like if you take enough of these setups, it doesn't really matter.
I agree with
'Cause
that's
it's
the
just
one
gonna
thing
work out
about
in
it.
that one.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
just like if it's a loss, man, it's a loss. As long as you know your longer term your net EV is good, because you're making 3-to-1, 4-to-1 on risk reward, or your accuracy is like 60, whatever. It's almost
Yeah.
like subconsciously you want to welcome the losses, because you just know it's like one less gone till the next winner comes in. Ben, you didn't take that, right? Did you? I don't know, Ben.
And even that setup before SOAR, go back to that one. Same concept almost, right? Opening range kind of fails to break out over VWAP and it never looks back and you can risk 10-15% wider stop.
But never at the first bit. Or if it pushes, you don't just have an order sitting here. You wait until price action confirms, right?
typically you can like I want to you should start a little bit once it does push, but then the highest quality ones always kind of show that they're failing to push at that level. So this one showed that like it went sideways around BWAP and it showed weakness, right?
Yeah, maybe this is lungs accumulating. Because believe it or not, I would have not in here. If this was like 10, 30, 11, I would historically actually probably would long it. Because thinking that okay, this makes a lot of sense. Why it has a bigger fade. Because lungs get involved, I think. That's very cool. TRLRM. I don't know how to catch this one. Martin, did you get this one? Adnan? Any way to get this, or that's just difficult for me?
No, this one's tough. Yeah.
Okay. Heck is this VTech? Oh, okay. One comment I'll make is if a stock is a piece of poop, you always just let it be a piece of poop and don't give it a lot of shots. Especially on day one, there's some stocks that will like do this. Me personally, what I have learned over the years, just leave it alone till day 2, day 3. Like this is this is very difficult. Like if this comes and this comes back, because they sometimes do 2, 3, and then day after, if it still has range left, what makes it really good.
This was a failed replication basically to KLTO. KLTO was running on Monday, Tuesday. VTech was I think on Wednesday. Similar price from where it was coming, similar float, and this was definitely long crowded.
Yeah.
To the afternoon, and once they noticed that this will not rip into close, when it broke down, I don't know what was that, 65 or so, or 68 in the last 2 hours last year here somewhere, it just unwound, and all the longs who were loading up for after hours run got out. So this was a nice opportunity. I think Adam had a nice trade on that, made 2 hours. Yeah.
Did I short this? I don't know if this is my setup.
Yeah, the key with this one was that it was failed replication.
I think I might have shorted this too, or I talked about it on voice. It is one of these stuff. I was surprised by. I didn't expect this last move. Okay, let's be effective with the time. I'm just gonna quickly zoom by, and then we want to look at stocks that had a lot of that like supposedly would have been losses, right? And then we also got to do gappers. So this stock here, KLTO, as we talked about the replication aspects, but this is the day one before it built the replication. So yeah, this goes up, hulls down, washes, and then reclaims. Goes sideways, makes it tough, and next day it blows people up. How do we avoid the long? So one thing about longs that I've noticed, I mean, it comes in waves, but like 80-90% of the times, it doesn't make a lower low. So if you somehow catch a long, like risk the previous low of the structure or the structure before. You guys have any 2 cents on this? I want to be effective with.
Yeah, one warning sign on this was near the open when it traded already 10 times the float. I see here pre-market volume was 270 million. This is a warning sign, and then it did this push and a few minutes of weakness, which was a beautiful trap for shorts off the open.
Wait, float is 32 million.
I think this got raised the past few days because they had some filings, but on Monday when it ran, it was below 30, I think. Okay. They had I think 4 million shares or so.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, this was a big warning sign, and actually my biggest loss this week. I was fighting it a bit annoying, but something to learn from. Volume was just way too much for shorts, and it never gave any confirmation below. It made steady higher lows, didn't really break down and made a lower high, and no reason really to be short here.
Yeah, whole bone, but then it's crazy. Any other comments on it? How do we long it? Any other avoiding the loss? Ben, Arsenal, Adnan?
I guess I would long it, but I did lose money trying to short it, so I can't really say that it's gonna get better long and above VWAP, I guess.
No, but we got to talk about like why do we long? It's not just long. It's like what are the variables and can that be replicated? Have you seen it consistently?
Just sub pennies in general. I think when you're getting volume off the open and you're above VWAP, I think it's a good bet. Especially this one. I think it was a halt band stock, So like it just had tight hold bands. I think it's always good for a scalp when it comes, but obviously holding these things.
For me, hold band kicks in if yesterday it was like 65 cents and today it opens at like $1. I think that's the area that SEC filings or Securities Exchange Commissions, whatever, they overlook, because that range makes it very disturbing. But in this range, I think hold band is not that 15 cents is not so much into play. But if it started skipping and then it dipped, I guess
That's the issue when it halts at 120 and indicates like 135, 140 type thing.
But the hold band is actually 15 cents, I think, within 5 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Because I mean, you are right. The hold band thing is in here. But yesterday it came from like 23 cents. So the odds that it moves 15 cents is not as crazy.
Are good.
It didn't hold much because the float was big enough to not move, that fast 15 cents in 4 minutes.
But had the gap
Or
been
it's usually at that.
had the gap been into $1 or $1.25, that would have been very problematic, because the spread is a minimum 1 cent, right? You can't have. So when you go above, it's like a small minor difference. I was thinking about it and researching it, and I'm being weird. There's another rule that it's like, so if it's below 99 cents, you can have 4 digits or whatever, like long extentages, but above $1 is just $1. So you can have a 1-2 cent spread, and then the movement has to be 4-5 cents minimum on average. It just makes the whole bend much. Any other comments? Ben hasn't said anything. I don't know. Ben if passed away from being too muscular now. And then, do you have a way of linking this? Sorry, Martin.
Didn't Ben mention that he had to go in 20 minutes at the beginning? Something like this.
Yeah. Did tell me what was going on. Adnan, do you have a way of longing this? Or any way to avoid the short trend?
Did this one not have news or something? Like it was theme?
This
Like
was
the-
Monday, and it ignited this strong news about its biotech. They had news that they found a gene that silences some
Increases lifespan or something, yeah. But news, I think, it was bare BS news. It wasn't phase 3 or something. It was super BS. So we just chalk it up as a loss. I did short this, actually, for the record, in here. I think this was a good setup. Obviously, in hindsight, I was wrong, but I think I will always take the stepper setup. Same thing to what Adnan said. Failed breakouts and things like that. I think the cycle is shifting really, really fast, so we can't really put a lot of emphasis on cycles. But this stuff is very applicable. Like if you look at this, so you wait until it breaks the high, I guess you would get stopped out here. And I think I probably did, but I re-entered. So it goes above this high, and then it's looking weak, heavy, reject. You can risk the high, and then you can give it a second attempt. And then sometimes I cover into the reload. Yeah, so this just is chalked up as a loss. It's part of life. This one, I just dislike midday runners. I don't know, Adnan, if you're able to. Did you trade this? Did you get lost?
What ticker was this? I don't
Oh,
think I
MH.
traded this one.
OMH on Monday.
230% push.
I'm not sure if I traded it or not, to be honest.
But no.
But yeah, there's no real setup there. That one's tricky for sure.
This one's your setup, LANM?
Yeah, high VWAP, goes sideways.
Man, there was nothing. This here, my frame, CITR. Oh, CTXR. Oh, gap rally was low, thank God. Because I was like, this would have trapped me. Oh, this is a long. But the volume is really low, huh? So this is my long setup, as you guys know. Below EO for so long, and then less above EO. But this is hindsight, because that's the volume came in after. Anybody took this? Anybody have? I don't know what to do with this, but yeah. The only thing sticks out is like this. Okay. Any comments? How do we avoid this loss? Yeah, I think I took a loss on this. Louise. This in hindsight, then this would be the push off the setup play, right?
Similar with like KLTO, they said this was on Tuesday, so the day after KLTO. I think this was also a replication, and in this case it worked out kind of, because it ripped the shorts into close. It had huge volumes. If you look at the volume, 23 million float, 700 something traded. Not as much as KLTO, but still amount, and it didn't continue to break down after 2 and reclaimed VWAP, then it was go time for the shorts to get out.
Yeah, this is where you could have stopped up. But do we just chalk this up as a loss, or is there a way to minimize the loss? I guess you could stop here.
This was maybe break even. Best case if you had a good entry, get stopped out break even.
But rather than commentary, what variables can we take a mental note of so that moving into the next week we could be like, oh, we saw this on our recap, to avoid it. Like this to me looked like a good short, and I believe I was. It's like a 230% gapper. Adnan, do you have any thoughts on this? Did you take?
I think Martin's right. Like, it's a good setup, and like you could just trail it with a break-even stop. Like, there isn't any explicit variable that sticks out.
It depends where you enter. If you short into weakness below VWAP at, let's say, 1236, here,
Yeah.
then your average is not that great, right? And you probably have maybe a stop above 85.
Yeah.
And then you have a loss, but it's a manageable loss. It's just another, normal trade. Nothing bad about it. If you get stopped out on time before it pushes 20 cents.
I was short actually down here, and I think I did add in here exactly as you said, Martin. And my risk from here, I believe, was in here 89, 39, something like that. I thought about cutting some here on the VWAP reclaim. The reason being is we talked about time based. So if there's all this people stuck, it's the odds of them like making a liquidity event and breaking near the high, it's lower. So I actually cut all of it here and then I went long. If it was above VWAP, it would have been problematic. But I think on the first pullback here, knowing that there's a lot of stops up here, and then I sold into that. And the crazy lunatic that I am, this is not a good thing, but I shorted here. That was I started trading. So what variable commentary aside, what variable can I use so that it doesn't? This all indicates that if it flushed, so now I'm being a bit hindsight. If it flushes the lows and it's reclaiming, that's like, okay, there's not enough longs in here or more shorts or something. Something's going on. So I'll make a mental note. If it makes a lower low and it's reclaiming, the basic 101, just put a break-even stop like you guys said. That's my takeaway from that one. And this one, geez Louise. Oh, 20% gapper. Thank God. No. 13% gapper. Okay. We'll be time effective and we'll jump right into the other one. So this is 60% gapper. We'll do this quickly. No, sorry. We are to change this, right? We are on June. So we had 19 gappers. We'll look at the return. Very likely we just went over them. Yeah. BCNC, KLTO, the 10 a.m. push, CGBS. This one we said it was difficult, I think, or did we mention this? Oh yeah, you shorted 1850, yes. Yeah. Okay, now we look at this. Anything stands out? KLTO we talked about. This one we talked about. HUSA. Oh, HUSA. This is interesting. This one we didn't talk about. One sideways. Okay. Going into the next week. Okay, this brought up a point for me. I am gonna try to avoid oil names, by the way. Oh, very, very good session. Very, very good session. Thoughts. There is also a background theme aspect. Basically, Israel bombed Iran's oil on this weekend. So very likely, I think Adnan, your HUSA is going to work out. So I think there will be a lot of oil names. Me personally, tomorrow, even if a stock is, that somebody new join. So tomorrow, hey bro. So tomorrow, even if oil name comes up, I am going to avoid that short, to be honest, because there's just going to be a sector theme. If anything, I'm going to look for a long. It's the same, I guess, same thing. No, we always start at 1:30, bro. You have Sunday recap, no? In here, we put a vote. Every Sunday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. I think you're right. Somewhere here, the event, it's messed up. I got to learn how to change it. Maybe the date time in here is bad, wrong. Okay, any thoughts on that, guys? Any thoughts on oil? Because I think that will be for sure a variable moving into. Maybe we can look at how they went long before we see anything. What was the other ticker? Martin, do you know? Do you remember the other ticker for oil or admin? It was
Yeah,
huge.
I'm running
NRBE, I think it was.
RPNE.
If this one
Actually,
passes, this one's gonna be nasty.
This is a shipping ticker from Cyprus. 1 million float.
Well, I think the move was a fake move. I mean, I think it was just insiders buying up the close, and I kind of messed up because I logged in at the close, but it fell right before the close, so I think that was a sign that it wasn't gonna run after you froze. And if you compare it to KLTO, that that was insulting at highs right before the close, so that's where that one went up. And so I was kind of thinking like it would do a little flat move, but I was thinking, oh, this might run at me after hours like KLTO. But I think the fact that it fell like about 15% in the last 15 minutes or so up the market hour, that was a sign that it wasn't gonna run. I would bet that this thing probably gonna die. I don't think that it's. I think the rigor dude are out of it. Fall most likely. But I think
So I was actually
Also, they closed at $14, so they massively increased the shelf capacity, so they can now raise $5 million, and they need some. I think they might use this for an offering in the coming days as well. But until then, it could still be volatile and trappy, especially if the oil sector continues to be in play.
I think one thing and one note that I want to make is that what I spoke about earlier into 2 p.m. This used to happen a lot in 2020, 2021. This plays back. So where they have the float rotation happening and it makes a new high, fail, reject, you can short these and it gives you a very nice 5-to-1 risk reward. I had a tough conversation with somebody and my brain was not in the right place, and then I covered it down here because it washed and reclaimed. But I had a very good average and a very good risk of like 19, 50, 60, or 40, whatever it was. But going into Monday, I think if this reclaims, there's a lot of shorts in it. There's a lot of shorts in it. The best squeezes and biggest ones are the ones where there's an anticipation on off run. And yeah, if it offers, we get screwed. But 5 million, for me personally, the 5 million offerable amount, if it comes in, it's only going to be a very low amount of shares. So going Monday, if this holds above 1163, I am going to definitely long this and HUSA.
One oil ticker that stuck out as relatively weak amongst all these small caps was USEGs. Reason for that is probably they had a higher float than all the others, and they also need cash. But yeah, in case this bounces back to 250 tomorrow, maybe in pre-market, this could be a nice candidate for a reshort.
So you don't think it's going to be a long? I guess either way, we'll have setups for this. But oil theme, I'm personally going to avoid.
But I read that Israel just bumped some oil storage, but not the oil infrastructure, because politically that's a little bit hot for them, because there are some other countries who would have some issues, wouldn't be able to export oil anymore unless it completely escalates. But I think the impact to the oil price will be limited the coming days. But we will see in a few hours when the futures open. We can, because the small caps, they still orient themselves on the oil price. And if the oil price doesn't go much higher anymore, I think this theme might also start fading in the coming days. Things calm down a bit.
I mean, if the war continues for 2 weeks or so, I think it would be problematic. One of the best setups back in the day was when these stocks were super fade and people were trained to short off the open and the pushes. Yeah, this is another name I'm gonna watch above 75 cents. Out of curiosity, we all can I'm sure we all have different opinions. Do you guys think that you would would you short oil tomorrow, or is that just my thoughts?
I would like to long it. I was trying to long OP on Friday, but I got stopped out before the run. I have a chart. I got stopped out at 80 cents. It's a low float, I think. It's the lower float one out of all of them, and the lower priced.
Okay. Global price. Does anybody have any counter thoughts or counter opinions that just maybe it's gonna be a good fader? That's okay to state so that we can just brainstorm different.
Depends how high they can go. I mean, they already faded except OP. OP was the only one that closed strong. The rest, I think, they faded from their highs on Friday. But they can easily, especially if the oil price is strong, if the futures are strong, then tomorrow pre-market, they can easily push back maybe to try Friday's highs, and this might provide an opportunity, maybe, but more like a scalp counter trend trade, not going for a big fade.
I did a little study of KLPO and RBNE together to go over
share my
All right,
screen?
cool. Let me show you what I have. This is my own. You want to? I mean, I'm curious what you guys thought. But okay, you guys see my screen? Okay, cool. So let's start with KLPO. So this is the last 4 days. So it started out it's pretty much going straight up. Starting around 7 a.m. and then it consolidated to the close. You can see that here. It was staying solid at highs. It was at highs all the way from like about maybe like 12:30 all the way to 3 and 4. It kind of stares higher a little bit, but it stayed at highs a little over 150, and that led right here that you going much higher in the after hours. So it went up to like 225 in the after hours, almost 225. Came down a little bit, but then it spiked hard at now then the next day, okay, it's good to remember this stuff for the future. You see stock moving similar with like crazy volume. The next day it went up at 4 a.m. It spiked up, kind of pulled back a little bit, but then it made the highs at about 10 to 11 and made highs like over 350. And then at 11 a.m. that's when it dropped pretty hard. It started falling. And then on day 3 it fell even more, to like 115 to close. Then day 4 it bounced back up a little bit. So day 4 it bounced the to an Oriental, so a Thursday, which is you have to pay 3 times the bar rate, and the bar rate went up to 500%. So that might also maybe allow short cover. But then it gave back all the on day 5 they gave back all the before. Yeah. Now let's compare that to RBNE. Or anybody notice interesting about?
No, I like how you structured it. This is very, very cool.
So yeah, let's take a look at see RBNE is similar or different. Now RBNE it started running at 6:30 a.m. on no news. So that's a sign that it's a scheme since oil was already up before. So it doesn't make any sense that it just starts running right there. Like why was it running earlier? So it started running from about and then it kept going up pretty much from then it consolidated from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. So that consolidation suggests it's gonna reach the next item because it's stayed at that high level. And so it did. It made the next leg up at 9 a.m. Then it really started moving at 10 a.m. And then it kind of consolidated for a while again. And then it made the final highs, started moving up at like about 130, 120. It reached almost $20. So it was around 19. But then it started fading hardcore at 3 p.m. And that's a sign that it was going to be weak in the after hour. It started selling before. Compare that to KLTO. Look at how strong KLTO was. From 3 o'clock here into the close, it didn't dip at all. But this one really faded at 3. I think what happens is that allowed the shorts to get out. Basically, all the guys that shorted up here were able to cover their position. So, and then the people that shorted down here are probably already out. They probably already blew up here. So there wasn't enough shorts to really get it moving in the after hours. And so then it spiked down quickly. And it kept going down to like 1150 here. So I think it'll probably, you might have like one spike in the morning, maybe at either 9:30 or the pre-market. But I think overall it probably falls to like $5 or $6, I guess.
Yeah, I think one thing that by the way, beautiful. I love how you go through a step by step and you consolidate. That's just goes to show for anybody that doesn't know, Adam has been trading for plus 10 years as well, probably longer. And I just love the fact that you're still putting this much energy in things like that. One thing that cool takeaway for me was the after hour play makes sense, even though it's low volume, because as you said, well, you mentioned that, but also I think everybody else is underwater, right? So all of the consolidation, everybody's below. So if it's gonna push, everybody that was long, they'll be like, "Thank God, help me get out." That I remember that one saying I learned earlier on. So like it washes, it has a weak close, pushes into after hours a little bit. Like if you can put your mouse on that, like 16.
That's actually not quite. That's not quite after hours. After hours is when my ear.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because I guess you could also. So there's this, I forgot the name. It's like called Elliott wave or something. But the concept is the first bounce, like when short gets squeezed, the first dip happens, people buy, and when a big parabolic down happens, and it has range of the first bounce, it always I try to remember to always put on risk and not cover. So in that little pop, because everybody that's like bagged, it's gonna be like, oh, thank God, because only like 10% of, or like a very small percent of the times it has a complete V bounce. A lot of the times when it's a very extended wash, it's gonna probably have a continue leg, and the clean edge comes from the first push. One question that I had, Adam, is like, how do you know that consolidation was gonna go higher? The first thing that you drew, that from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., it consolidated. What made you think, or is there a variable that it could have just gone down because there's so much room at the bottom, right? So is there a way to differentiate that?
I think sometimes like if it consolidates for too long, like if it's a bull flag, like this is a bull flag where it's like, but I just think at this point, like in the pre-market, see this wouldn't fall below 10, which is much higher than where it started. It started at like 350. It's got to be bullish. I mean, especially really early in the day, and yeah, I think that's gonna be free fallish. I mean, it'd be good to study of this, but it just the fact that it just wouldn't drop below 10, and there's like a lot of support on there is I think it's gonna have the next life higher. And then you also have to think about too the fact that this one would easy to borrow. Like you fit on Cobra, like Wedbush Brokers, it was free to book it. So that's another sign that like people are getting so big. It's so good up all these short sellers.
But look at that 930 price action. Doesn't that look like very top heavy, and it's like gonna make a big wash? Like that 930 candle makes a new high. Put your mouse a bit to the left. No, a bit to the right. Yeah, down here. Yeah, and then it breaks a new low. Isn't that like? I guess it's just business. It's just loss as a loss. Okay.
It didn't fall by much. I mean, it didn't go back to $10, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you could predict. I mean, it did go up. But much time on like the 9 a.m. spike up, like it's consolidated, and then it went like 13. Or was that 12.50, 13 from $10? And from there, yeah, you're right. It spiked and then it fell, and then at 10 a.m. it just was really strong.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. I mean, in my opinion, I think it was a cold rig. I mean, it's full of steam. Like I think the insiders just flying up chairs. And so then it's a site here. So they started selling at 3 p.m. There's a center not going to run it in the after hour. Whereas compare that to KLTO, which is also a steam, which with insiders find. That one, I mean, it started flying after 12. That one did fall at 3 p.m. That stake was high. So that means it's gonna go higher in the after hours, and perhaps even higher if you are next. So that's to me that's a big difference. I mean, because it stayed high at 3 p.m. This one faded at 3 p.m. So that's the sign whether it'll go great.
Yeah, good observation.
Anything else you want to share?
That's about all I believe right now. I usually goes retro because they're both fully unnatural moves in my thing. It's total like float buy up, so that's why I like to kind of compare.
But share this more often. Next Sunday, for me, this was very valuable. Any other comments, guys? Because the goal here is we can get it done. I guess. Well, first off, anything else you guys want to talk about quickly? Because we have one other segment that we could go over. I think it'll be useful. One could be a bit cheesy. Like, what's the summary takeaway? Which I think is useful to even matter how cheesy it is. Number 2 is actionable steps into next week. Some of you like it, some of you dislike it. Like, what setups are you going to take, or where are you going to watch out for? Arsenal, Ben, Adnan, anything you guys want to talk about before we jump into the summary segment?
Yeah, nothing here.
Well, I have a question. Should we do biggest? Nah, because we kind of did the biggest opportunity. Let's do 2-3 sentence summary of what the takeaway summary is, what you learned, and please do this because if we're all able to see, oh, this person took that, it's like we're all comparing our notes. I think it's kind of beautiful. Let's do that in 3, 4, 5 sentences, not much super long. And then if you can squeeze in like a setup or some sort of like some actionable steps into next week, that's gonna result in you making money. That'd be super cool. Who wants to start?
Yeah, one takeaway for me for next week, or generally for the future, is to stay away from the hot ticker of the day. And how do I figure that out? What is the hot ticker of the day? And I would say any ticker that trades more than 7 or 8 times the float in pre-market already until the open is a candidate for being a hot ticker, especially if it's only one that sticks out. I don't want to short this one first 2 hours of the day normally, unless imminent dilution, or they have some dilution that's ready to be dumped. Maybe even some hidden dilution that not everyone sees. That's not so obvious. If the volume stays strong the first 15 to 30 minutes of the open, I would rather learn to go long tickers, especially when they have some weakness of the open, and do some short traps, or at least stay away from the short side.
Adnan, you want to go next? Thank you, Martin.
Yeah, biggest takeaway kind of was just try to stay like there seems to be always one stock that kind of is a problem each day, and I think the easy way to kind of fix that problem is just try to avoid or try to focus on relative weakness, and then only really try to trade when trade that high volume, high range stock when it gives like that clear big picture type entry, like how RBNE kind of gave that clear big picture entry in the last hour of the day on that failed breakout. Um and so yeah, just kind of shift the focus towards relative weakness, and uh try to only focus on the hot runner of the day where it's super obvious.
Arsenal?
Yeah, so moving on to next week, I'm gonna not short oil. I'm long biased on oil, but I'm gonna avoid it unless it really sets up, like a small cap sets up on it. And when it comes to gappers, I'm just gonna wait like 30 minutes, I think, until the open, because I think we're expecting some sort of traps before the final fade. Like SOAR I missed because I kind of took it too early back and forth. So if I had just waited, I think I'll do a lot better on these gappers.
Brother Ben, I saw your delicious steak, but are you able to jump on a call and mention this on it? I think Brother Ben probably just lets on. Adam, do you have any summaries? I know you showed up late, and I apologize for the event. Adam, by the way, you are able to see the Sunday recap room, right? Sunday recap.
Sorry, I had somebody. It'll be where you're cleaning my plates. Not that we see the Sunday recap room. Only check. Is it? Yeah, sorry for coming late again. You mind weekends are sort of like recuperating. You told me. Like you get, but we'll only see the. Yeah, I can video in it.
Because I realize I hope.
No, I don't have anything next week. I don't really have a plan right now. I'm just gonna look at I was gonna see what's moving and try to see I'm gonna kind of be cut boxes, I guess. It's just yeah, I'm gonna see if we can find any like great tickers again and see if I can trade them a little bit better. Like KLPO and RVNE, and I gotta just kind of look them and just kind of go from there. And then see if I can make any like these trades if like stock grew too much baseline moves. But other than that, yeah, I'm just gonna be not good too much. Let's not jump in anything too quick. Overall, kind of cautious.
Awesome, Nancy. And generally, thank you for showing up. It's always cool to see other people's how they do their recap and in their own way. Maybe I need to go one. It was really neat seeing that. My takeaway is that personally, I think I'm gonna avoid oil. I don't fully believe this, but it's whatever. On Monday, it makes it tougher. I think people I don't know. Some people always don't. Oil, I'm gonna avoid. Even I think if it fades, I am telling myself, and I believe this, that even if it fades, it's just a missed opportunity. And in the long term, my expected value of my returns will be good because I'm avoiding shorting theme sector. My mindset has been to be like, hey, there's a 5 gappers or 3 gappers, whatever. If there's a 1 gapper and it's oil, honestly, I'm going to really look for a long if there's just 1 gap. So one pattern that obviously we've realized is if there's 5 tickers, I'm very short biased. I put on my risk all across the board. And if it fades, okay, then it's awesome. But if it's 1, I'm gonna look for long. If it's oil, I might even look for long. I don't know. So that's my takeaway. Another thing that I have noticed, 2 to 3 p.m. Today we only went through 1 2 example, but in the past week, for anybody that showed up on Sunday recap, we know we went and we saw many failed breakouts, especially float rotating names that break out at the high near the close and then it fades. So I'm going to be mindful of that. Then that's about it. And I think once the war is over, I may be biased here. I think PLTR may be a good short, even though I've given up on my short. So far I cut it, thankfully, in green on it or to break even though. Yeah, it's one of those things on daily chart. And the other thing that we didn't really mention, I'm just throwing stuff to land them out, is IONQ, RGTI, all these other names. If it gaps up, I'm going to be looking for opening range breakdown. So the first 5 minute, 3 minutes or whatever, some sort of a technical entry setup for good risk reward behavior because they've been dumping a lot. And that's a takeaway. I think we did a good chat today. We kept nice and short. Sweet. As we started at like 1:45 too. If there's nothing else, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys coming.
No worries.
Have a wonderful, beautiful day, guys. Take care.
See you guys in the morning.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Bye. If you guys made it so far, that means you liked it. Click subscribe. Let us know what we could do better. Take care. Thank you.